Hello and welcome to the ARCHLine webinar. Today's topic is roof design. My name is Zoltánto. Today I'm joined by my colleague Illés Pap, who's our resident architect.
Hello everyone.
In the next 45 minutes we are going to talk about how to design roofs in our CAD software. Now the reason why we have this session is because we want to go a little bit beyond the usual topics what we discuss, which are usually things like transferring from 2D to 3D drafting. Now today we are going to be a little bit more practical. We are going to look at actual examples on how to tackle certain roof design related issues. First of all, we are going to look at the automated and manual roof design tools what our software offers. And then we are going to look at how to use survey data to turn them into actual roof planes. And eventually we are going to look at roof elements such as gutters, chimneys,
and also editing the roof contour, because that's
right.
Also something that happens a lot when you design the roof.
That's right. The main thing is that we are going to keep on focusing on one project, and that would show us all the examples what we are looking for. We are also going to talk about some practical advice, how to tackle certain things and how to keep your model concise and clean. And eventually we are going to look at the user questions, the questions that you, the attendees, are asking. So as always, you are advised to ask your questions, which you can do on the right-hand side of this panel. You might need to have a YouTube or Gmail account to comment, but you can do that for the whole duration of the show. Eventually, at the end, we are going to answer them as well. So let's get right to it. Let's talk about the roof design elements, what our software offers. Over to you.
So the roof, I think we have already, it's on the screen. We have this project loaded. It's an actual project from one of our users, Christina Harushi, who gave us this project, which is prepared with several buildings. I will work on the main building later in this session, but at the beginning I will start with these sample buildings to show you the concept of roof, how the roof itself works, and how you can draft the roof, and how you can merge roofs together and such things, and basically how the roof layers and the roof structure is connected to each other, how you can control that relation to each other. So here, actually, I have a view saved, and I think I will use this here. So these are the side buildings which we will work on now. Let me just quickly check where this is on the floor plan. Yeah, it's here. So this is the area where I will work on. And well, just as I described, this project, this full project consists of 3 different buildings in building situations, as you can see here. So now I will work on the surrounding, that's where these building parts are, and I will remove this little roof so we can talk about how this builds up. So that's the part where we see in the 3D. So when you design the roof, mostly you will work with 2 different roof tools. All the roof tools you can find in a building here. One, the most popular, the most frequently used, is the auto roof tool. This is what I will use, and also there is another tool which is drafting roofs by planes, but actually we have another video about that, so yes. I won't focus on that. I will show you how the auto roof works. Basically, when you start the auto roof tool, it allows you to select the walls, and based on the wall contours, the roof will be automatically created. Or if for any reason that is not a go for you, you can select these drawing tools, drafting tools from the right hand side. I'll go with polygon now, so I would like to manually draft the contour, which is now the result will be identical as I would have been chosen.
To the building that you have over there.
Yeah. And so when you create something like that, actually now the roof is already created. What you can see here, this is the actual roof, and you can see here and the 2D as well. Now, the first thing that you must set up is the general properties, how the roof will be positioned. Because now the roof shape is ready. Of course, we can customize it, we will customize it, but how it's positioned. And there are 2 important things for that. One is the theoretic wall width. This is not necessarily the same as the real wall width, so you need to take care if you use the same value or not. Now, the best thing if you change the theoretic wall width to the main external wall width, because that's how you can guarantee that the drafting will be accurate. Otherwise, the roof will be slightly off.
Yes,
likely.
So you might need to take that into consideration.
Yes. And the other thing is that you can, as a generic setting, all around the roof, you can set up the eaves overhang. That's actually this distance from the wall side to the roof edge. That's the distance that you can set up, and of course later you can one by one also change these settings.
I was about to ask you that. So just to specify, now we already have the roof and we are modifying it before we actually look at it, but later you can modify all these elements, right?
Yes. Just as with any other features in ARCHLine, any other tools in ARCHLine, once you create something, it's a flexible thing. You can dive into the item and change every tiny parts, and it still keeps as a consistent one. So it won't be destroyed into, I don't know, something smaller.
I see. So it won't be exploded into smaller segments.
Yeah. Though if you want specifically with the roof, you can do that. So, so that's it. This is the eaves overhang, the theoretic wall width, and the height. Now the position. This is measured from the floor 0. Now we are on a ground floor, and if I would position the roof with the value C, as you can see here, and this is the value C here. So it's actually the lowest point of the roof. When I design a roof, usually I go with this value. If I'm as an architect, I'm working with the project. But if I have a value because I have went to the site and I made a survey and I measured this little wall next to the roof, then I will likely go with value F, because that's what I will see from inside the interior. So I can choose whichever I would like to use. Now I will change this value, I don't know, around 3 meters. And then I just quickly hit OK so that you can see how it is applied to this place here. The wall will not automatically cut the roof. You either need to at least rebuild the 3D to see how the wall and the roof structure is joined. Or second, you might need to check a setting, which I will show you now, because basically this whole thing is based on a setting which we call the projections and cut. So now the roof is cutting the wall because it is set to cut the roof. If I set all roofs, then from wherever these walls are coming, the roof will always cut these items. So talking about the representation, which now we can see in the 3D is correct. We can of course further detail the roof. One thing here on the main panel, still we stay at the main panel, is the roof layers setting. If I tick this and I click on update, it seems like it makes the roof thinner, but in reality it actually represents my layers, which if I turn this on, I can detail here at the layers and geometry. Here at the layers and geometry, you can see there are 2 layers. What you wanted to say?
I was just saying, this is somewhat similar to what we do with the wall layers.
Yeah.
So you can set up your own layers. You can save this into. Yeah, that's right. So you can add your own layers, modify what we have in the library at your discretion.
Yes, and now this is a very simple roof layer, because I would like to demonstrate how it's related to the roof structure, but of course you can set up the full structure of the roof layers. So actually there are 2 things that you can set up for a roof, the layer structure, like insulation, everything that is layered, and the other parts, the structure itself, the rafters, the button, and things like that. So let's just keep in mind that now we have a 2-layer roof, which has 1 layer with a 3 centimeter thickness, and another one which is actually turned off. So that's why I can see only the top layer. You can control the layers one by one, whichever you would like to see. So for example, if this is not a thermal insulation but a cavity layer, then I change this to something else. Let's say this is perhaps everywhere. We have a material called air, and so that I will use that. Okay.
Yes.
So this thickness is invisible now. Let's go back here. So I can see only this top layer and I cannot see the structure itself, and it's because I didn't turn on any of those here. Here at the left hand side you can turn on the rafters, perhaps the ridge board, the batten, and everything else. Yes. And as you can see, when you turn these on, all other options are coming in.
That's right.
Yeah. Like for example, let's say I have a rafter and ridge board enabled, and when I dive into the settings, I can see the settings are correct, everything is fine. I have a cross section also for the ridge board, and I update and I can't see it. Why is that? In ARCHLine you can make difference between the settings and whether based on those settings the items are represented or not. Because first things first, you need to be able to change between different representations, like the conceptual representation and the detailed representation. So I have the rafters set up, but now I'm in a kind of conceptual representation mode, which means that the rafters are not turned on in 3D. So if I turn it on and I update it now, it comes alive.
That's right.
And when I hit OK, now the whole thing appears here and at the 2D as well. So another thing, the 2D and the 3D can be controlled separately how it is represented. Now at the 2D we can see a quite complex roof. It's not even the full detail. I can make it further detailed, but it's even already rather complex. So what if I don't want to see the complexity here, but I would like to have the full grown model? In that case, I just go back to the settings again and I say that I would like to see the structure in 3D indeed, but I don't want to see the beams in 2D. And in that case, I have this, a simple representation in the 2D and a complex representation in the 3D.
So that way you can separate, you have a clean model on the 2D plane and you have a more complex, you have the actual model on the 3D.
Yes, it's actually, it depends on how my country regulates, how I must represent the roof. And of course, my design concept also determines what I would like to represent here. So this setting here is the main panel. One another thing before we go on and work on the others is that you can actually turn off the roof layers in 3D. If you do that, this is actually like kind of helping you when you design the structure without continuously rebuilding the model. So in this little thumbnail, in this little 3D preview, you can see the structure. So when you go to rafter and you change anything, like I change the main rafters to, I don't know, at 2.4 meters distance from each other, then I can see it. And then I can go back and turn it back on to see the full structure.
That's right. That allows you better to access the structure itself and takes away everything else what you don't need at that point.
Yes, and I think here, talking about the structure, because this is a very important part of the roof, there are structural parts like the rafter. If you check the top of the screen, you can see that you can actually add additional rafter grids. Like now I have only the main rafter, but if I add another one, let's say this is the secondary rafter, and then I would like to change this to be at the original distance. I update it. Now this looks like just as the original, but usually for the real design, I use this to have stronger rafters at the main rafter and weaker at the secondary rafter. So I can go here and change the. I just change it to be something obvious. It's too thin, I know, just to represent how it looks like. So now I have the main rafters and I have the secondary rafters, and everything here is connected to each other.
What about the ridge board? Now it doesn't seem to be in line with the rafters.
Yeah, as you can see, now there's the ridge board, but it's supporting the rafters. It's not inside. It depends on, again, on the structure. But if I would like to move it inside, in between to the rafters, then I can go to change the ridge board setting, and as you can see, there is the value B, which I can control here. Let's just try and change it to 0.1 and update. See, it's coming up 10 centimeters. So you can completely control what happens inside the structure. And of course, there is the eaves purlin, the middle purlin, and all the other things. They are actually
work with the same
straightforward.
Logic,
yeah, work in the same way. So this is how you can build it up. And now I'm just turning it back on here. And I would like to show you the opposite. Like, what happens if I already have the structure and I would like to represent the roof not with the full layer structure. I would like to keep it, of course, but I would like to represent it with like one plane, like a simpler representation, but still keeping the 3D rafters and things like that. In that case, I can turn this off, and it's not like completely removing the whole thing like before, but it is representing it as a simpler roof structure. So this is very helpful, and I think now this comes handy to explain how the roof structure and the roof layers are connected to each other, because now we have a clear view of how they are aligned. Now, as we can see, the roof layer is absolutely touching the bottom of the rafter, and this can be controlled here. As you can see, Now there is an option that the rafter is aligned to the bottom of the second layer, which is this, which we determined as being air. And now if I change it to, I don't know, like 2 centimeters or something like that, and I click OK, then we can see that there's the roof structure. It's like a thick layer, but if I zoom in, I cannot see it touching because I have changed how these items are aligned. Okay, so this is how you can actually change the way it works. And of course, there are tons of settings that you can set up. You can even set up the roof tiles, make it real 3D tiles or simpler representation. Now, what we have here, this is the texture representation, which if you choose the simple representation, you can go and change it to, I don't know, I will just simply go with the gray color, and this is how it looks like then. So there are tons of settings that you can set up, and it's worth note that you can actually store these bunch of settings into something that we call styles.
I was about to ask you that because it takes a lot of time to design your own roof style, so it makes sense to save it into your folder. So later you can use them. So you don't have to go back and copy another roof structure, but you can store these styles as your own.
Yeah, I think I just actually save it. It will be my custom.
So that works with a couple of other elements. So you can save all styles as well and all the elements.
Yeah. Actually, this is the totally the same concept that if you used it ever before on walls or doors or whatever, this works just as the same. So you have a style which stores all the settings, and then when you have other styles, you can just simply, I'm enabling the default, I double click on it, and when I click update, you can see this is the original. And I go back to my custom style, update, and that's.
But it keeps the geometry, so
yeah,
nothing like that is changed.
Everything is keeping the same. And of course, if I would like to go with like this roof, this I already saved a simple roof, and then I have this here. And another thing here. Now we have this roof structure, but we didn't really work on the planes yet. It's what we see is completely automatic. But how to control that? First things first, you can find these settings at the pitch and shape. The pitch and shape allows you to click on the several roof planes and decide whether they are hipped or gable end or whatever else.
Yes.
And if you would like to, for example, you can turn it off. This means this will be a gable end. When you click update, it will be like that. If I do the same here.
How do I know which panel I should click on? How do I know which is which?
Because now the shape might be something that you can easily understand, but when the shape is more symmetrical, you hardly notice what is what. So as you can see,
especially because of the 3D model, you are moving it around. So
yeah. So as you can see here, the 2D is the same. It's identical. Okay. It's not rotated or something.
It comes from the 2D view.
And the 3D is trying to help you when you click here. See, as I click here, the proper plane is facing to me. If I click here, then that's the plane that's facing to me. What happens if I would like to change this back to hipped? That is a usual question. Yeah, the point is that you cannot click on it because we just turned it off. There's no visual surface there you can click. So for that reason, there is this little button here, so you can actually go and cycle through these planes. And this is plane 2 of 6, which we have now, which is a gable end, we can see. So I can click on it and click on update, and then now everything comes back. And another thing, of course, the pitch of the roof, you can change the slope. I think originally on this plan it was something like 24 degrees. If you click on update, then you can see that this is changed only this plane. But if you click on apply on all planes, then everything will be a little bit higher. So this is how you can control how the roof plane looks like. So let me just quickly turn this to a gable end and this to a gable end, and then I think this is the roof plane that I wanted to create. You see, I think we quite went through all the settings. So now I'm enabling it, and now we have this roof structure here.
What's going to happen with the gaps that you can see over there on 3D?
That's the well, actually we already saw that in action, but I would like to show you something. Here, if I look this model from behind, we can see that this wall has a certain setting. I think even if it would be represented not like that, it will be not tall enough.
Yes,
I can just simply go into the settings and say, okay, so the wall will be regenerated, and now we can see it's not tall enough. First things first, I can select it and I can change it at the left-hand side. Something taller, it will just work fine. 7 meters work just as fine as 5. Or I can click on this top item and change height, for example, graphically, and then the rest will be done by the roof.
Yes.
And talking about this, I think there is an important setting that is not obvious but very handful. If you go to the settings of the roof, there is a setting which we call the distance of cutting surface. Usually, when you have a roof, there is you cannot see it, but there is a cutting surface running under this roof, which cuts all the walls. This usually follows the real 3D structure of the roof, but not necessarily always. So what happens if not? If I would like to demonstrate that, I think I use a negative value, which means in this specific topic, it means down. And when I hit OK, and I regenerate the 3D of this simple wall, see, now it's 10 centimeters lower.
There's some offset there.
Yeah. You can do it in a negative direction or a positive direction. It depends on the roof structure. If the roof is much more detailed than this, it's usually something that you want to do. You would like to control where the roof plane cuts the walls.
Now, what about connection to the other roof parts? Because now we see a huge gap there. You probably want to sort of intersect them.
Yes. I think that's the following part where we will. Well, let's talk about the drafting part first. I think there's one more thing that I would like to show you. There is one image. I think we have prepared an image.
Yes.
I mentioned that sometimes when you are on site, you can take a photo like this, and on this photo you can measure the height of the wall where it is connected to the roof, and also you can measure this distance, the horizontal projection of this slope, and the vertical projection. You can use any sort of tool that you have on site. You just measure these values, and the most important things that you can import these, you can input these data into ARCHLine. That's what I want to
So these are the data what we are going to use right now.
Yes.
To
Yes. So the wall will be 1 meter tall, and the horizontal projection is 1.9. The vertical is 1.7. This is what I'm about to use here. If I go here and I change the settings of this roof, that's what I mentioned. I need to change the F value to be able to set this height here. I won't change it now because it will just jump down. It would not look good. But the other thing, the pitch, I would like to represent. Here, I don't know the angle, but
you know the measurement, so you can.
But what I know is this triangular value here. If you check these values here, there is A per B. This is what you need to set up here. The B is the horizontal and the A is the vertical. So if I remember correct, the horizontal was 1.9 and the vertical was 1.7.
Yes.
And keep in mind that when you type this, there is one specialty how you need to type is 1.9 and space/space. It's very important because if there's no space, then the software understands it as division. And this is not what I want. Right. So it's like a pair of values, and then I will simply apply it on all to the planes, and that's what I get.
So what happens now is that now the use survey data will turn this into an actual...
Yes. So this is what I will get in that case. Okay, so that's what I wanted to show. And I think now we can discuss the connection between the two roof parts because
now you have two roof parts there which sort of overlap, but there's a gap, so there's a way to intersect them and merge them together.
I think if someone used ARCHLine before, they might be familiar with the concept which we call, there is the projected roof, but we have a video about that. Now, what I would like to show you that you can actually not only use a main roof and use a projected roof, which is a specific tool for that, but you can actually have two existing roofs and intersect them, like two complex roofs, you can intersect and then make the connection between the two. So for that, I will use this here. And I think we should talk about the editing roof contours as well, because here there is an important point which I would like to show you, the contours. Now, this roof here, which we previously designed, when I select it, as you can see, it has two contours. One is with this normal line, and the other one is with the dashed line.
What's the difference?
Yeah, the dashed line, I think it will be more obvious if I click here. The dashed line is the line which is tracked. That's the line which I used. That's
which
a reference
you originally
line.
used when you created the automatic roof.
Yes, yes, that defines the structure, the generic shape. So now we understand that this roof was designed with this basic shape. On top of that, likely the creator created a regular roof and turned this and this end to a gable. So what happens if I touch this bottom line and I click on offset, for example, I just simply make it longer. And this way I can stretch the whole structure to be something longer.
Yes, but now you have double roofs, right? So you have two on top of each other.
Yeah, and just to create something more likely, I just changed the side as well. So now they actually meet each other in the 3D space, but they are not really intersecting each other, which I can make it more obvious if I only rebuild the 3D of these two items. Sorry for that. So this is the problem. They are just actually overlapping each other. They are not intersecting into each other. So when you would like to work these into one and the other, then you just select one of the roofs in the 2D, go to Info, and intersect the two roofs, which will allow you to select the second roof and then draft a line.
So that gives you the lines that you can use. This is not actually an intersection of the two.
Yeah.
It just tells you where you can cut the two roof planes.
Yes. And then you can decide what to do with those two roofs. Well, like for example, I can select this roof now, and I can say that into this roof I would like to create a hole which is following the contour of this intersection which I have created earlier, and then now it's intersected. See, now this is how it looked like before, and now I have this intersection cut. And the same thing I could do with the other roof.
So that will get rid of all the unnecessary roof parts.
Yes. So this is how you can intersect these two things. And one another thing before we go on to the next topic is that if I just simply undo these steps and I go here, see, I have talked about these, but I just simply change the size. What happens if I click here and I insert a new node? In that case, I actually divide the one single roof plane into two new roof planes. That's absolutely useful when you are about to shape something to a change of design or something like that. But if you would like to change only the shape of this single roof plane, then you do not edit this dashed line, the structural line, the structural contour, but you will edit the roof plane contour, which is this one. That's how we call it. You just click here, insert node, and see now it's still a plane, but it's just a different surface shape. Yeah.
Now let's stay at this topic. I mean, could you use this to create a sort of an extension for a balcony, for instance?
Yes, I think for that we can change this to this roof, which is building 1, and let me just quickly rebuild the whole 3D. And here I can show you how that goes. Again, here we will edit some of the roof contours. First things first, what you can see here, this is the roof shape that we are about to achieve here, this here. So how to create something like that? Let me just remove that, and I would like to add a hole here. I go back to the 2D, that's it here. Let's change the, it's building 1, and this is what we will use. This is the top floor, and I again use the roof tool, auto roof. I use a rectangle as the basic shape of this roof to keep it simple. Now I have it. Okay, I already saved all the settings, so I don't have to go through these things.
Yes, you can load up your
I
style
just
for that.
simply select either this or this. I can click on update, and now I can see the full structure. I'm happy with that. Then I go and set up the pitch and shape, and then here I design the 24-degree angle, or 24.2, I think that was the original value, roof plane and apply it to all the roof planes,
Yes,
and I will
make the ends
disable.
gable.
Yes, yes, correct. This will be a gable end. This will be a gable end. And then now basically I'm done, but if I would hit OK, it will just float in thin air because I didn't set up the elevation. So what I need to set up is this elevation here, and it's here at the general properties. If I knew this value, I can type this value, or if I knew another one, then I can change that. I think this here will be something like 0.8 and update, and click OK, and now I have this roof shape.
Yes, but now you have an even roof. It's not. It's
Yes.
it's uneven on this model.
Yeah, it's now it's completely symmetrical, but it's normal because now what I have decided, I designed the roof contour which runs along this line, and I didn't tell the software that one of these will be at a different height. So if you would like to do that, you will start like this, and then you go into the settings of the roof, and then here at pitch and shape, you can select the proper roof plane, which is now this one, the one
Yes.
Behind the building. And here you can change the reference line. Now, when I'm about to design, I usually make sketches or something like that. So anyhow, I know this value, or I can just simply try which will work best. So I just change it to, I don't know, 3.2 or something like that. I click OK. See, now this is what I have here. Okay, and now I have got this. I can change it, I can play with it, and I can find the best value. But the point is that this way you can create an uneven, non-symmetrical roof like this here.
That's right.
And
now let's go to the cutout way.
yes, yes. The part that you actually originally asked.
The part that you want to know
the
about.
terrace, it's here. Perhaps the other one, there's another terrace view here. So we can see when I make the hole. So I just click on show floor plan. This is it here. And this is the part here actually, which I will turn into a terrace. So I click on the roof. I go to the local menu, hole, create hole, and then I just simply draft the hole, which can be an even more complex shape, but I will keep it simple. And this is how you can cut a hole here. And of course, the same thing you can do with things like this here, like the
chimney.
Like
That's
the
right.
chimney.
You can make a cutout for that. Now, how about extending the roof outwards? I remember there's the entrance on the other side of the building, which is a sort of like an arc. Maybe we should extend something over it.
Yeah, it's here. So this here, actually, it's the same thing. What I have done with the little tiny roof, I'll change the contour. So I'll go here, I'll select it, and see. Again, the difference between the two. This will change the geometry. If I would add a node here and another one here, and I would turn this into something curved, then the situation, the result is quite something different.
Than
likely someone would like to create something like this, but now what I would like to do is only an extension to this roof plane. So I just undo these steps several times, and I just simply do the same thing here. I just add the node here, add the node somewhere here. I'm not using accurate values now, but of course if I wanted to, I could, and then I just, I don't know, change it like this. So there are the two different results that you can get.
Nice, nice. I see some rain gutters on this side of the building, but there's none on the other. So let's talk about now additional roof parts and elements, and by which we mean chimneys, what we briefly talked about, and also rain gutters. So let's see how we create them.
Yeah, well, actually, the chimneys, I just mentioned that there are two ways. Sometimes the users ask how to create a chimney. There are two ways. One, there are built-in objects. We call them chimneys. The thing that you can see here, it's something like that. If I select it, I can show you that the software comes with built-in chimneys. You can use these, you can change their size and materials and everything else. You can put them in, or also you can draw them traditionally by walls if the structure is made by walls. So this is how you can create, and then you can also cut the hole so the chimney will literally come out of the roof. So this is how you can do it. And about the gutter, there is a dedicated tool to that. It's called the roof and gutter tool, which allows you to select this bottom line of the roof structure, and based on the length and the shape of that bottom line, the software will automatically create a gutter. Then you can change the cross section of the gutter, and of course, very important, you can change the reference line of the gutter. If I would keep it like this now, it will be aligned to this reference line with the bottom of this cross-section profile. But I would like to align it with one of these sides. Sometimes this is a good thing. Sometimes I don't even know which side would be good, because I select this. If it goes into the roof, then I need to select the other one. So let's try if this works. See, now it is perfect. It is coming to the side of the roof. I can also change its height to position to somewhere else. And of course, I can add a downspout like this here. This allows you to draft the shape of the downspout. You can also design the position of it. I think from here it will be nice to be at 0.8, yeah, and it should be I don't know, a little bit longer, like 4 meter long, like that. See, and one another thing here, if I would create it like this, as you can see, when I create it would attach to this part, but it's not good. In this case, you need to change the offset of this item, which is in this case the size of this, actually the radius of this.
And that puts it exactly where it needs
gutter.
to be.
Yeah, like this. And then, well, sorry, it's actually a negative value because it's going down and down.
Yes.
This is what you get.
Nice.
And then you say okay, and now it's there. And of course, sometimes it's not bad, but sometimes if you want, you can actually visually tweak it. You can click here and move the downspout somewhere else, like this here. And also you can change its length to match the original design much better than how you imagined in the preview.
That's great, that's great. Now, there are tons of other roof elements what we are not going to talk about today. We might devote a separate webinar for that. I'm talking about roof superstructures, or maybe windows on the roof planes. That's something that we are not going to talk about right now, but instead let's talk about some practical advice what we might be able to give you. So obviously Illes has been using this environment for a long time, so he knows how to handle, he knows the challenges what making a roof might mean to him. But what are the certain tricks and tips you can give to our clients to make this whole thing a little bit easier?
I think one thing that we usually offer to make is how you can change it to the representation. From country to country, there are different needs how you can change it to the representation. And I'm not talking about the ones that I already show. I'm talking about something else, and I think use this little tiny roof here again. Just go here and go to set this setting here. So here, this one. If I go to the settings, there is one thing that we call the pitch and chip, and there's the symbolic top view that's what we see now, but you can actually change it to be a horizontal section, and then in that case the software will literally intersect the roof structure in the complexity as it is now, and will create a representation like that. In some of the countries, this is how you must represent the roof when it's occupied, when it's a living space. So this is one thing that I would recommend to consider when it's necessary. Another thing is
one thing what I can think of, if I may interject, is that we never emphasize enough the importance of the floor manager what we have. Is that roofs should be assigned their own levels, if I'm right, because that way you can modify them better, and that way you have more control over what you are drafting.
Many times, yes. Let me show you. Let me demonstrate it how it works now. So now I have actually two floors, the ground floor and the surrounding floor. Now when I'm switching between those two, this is the top floor, the surrounding level, and the other one is the ground floor. So now I can see that the roof is at the same place where my walls are. And sometimes it's just not something what I want. I would like to organize it to a different, like an attic level. So in that case, I just simply select the roof and I move it to the other
to the level above.
But that usually comes with this thing, because I actually all the time I design the items with their relative height to the bottom of the floor. So then the only thing that I need to change is to correct this level. So I'm just removing this and change it 3 meters lower, and then it falls back to the proper place. And now I have a neat organized plan. I have an attic floor, let's say, and I have a ground floor, and I cannot see the roof shape.
I see. It's great. I see that there are some user questions actually what we might be able to answer. Let's we might return to this topic, but let's just first look at the questions what we have. Here's a good one. can I draw a flat roof with the roof tool? Now, that's a good question because we have been drawing pitched roofs, but what happens if you have a flat roof?
Yeah, well, actually, it depends on how you approach the flat roof. If it's like a conceptual drawing, I usually would like to say that you should go with the slab tool. But if
just
it's
put a slab on top of your structure.
Yeah, it's just like really just a slab. Or the other case, when we are talking about the more realistic representation of the flat roof, which is not really literally flat, it's actually having a little pitch, a little slope, then you could use the roof tool to create it. It will be actually a negative roof. Or you could use this tool, which I mentioned earlier, and we have a video about that, which is the roof plane by 3 points. That's the other thing that you could create. So I think I would go with these settings.
I see another one. I think it's interesting. How do you make firewalls? Now, that's a good question because so far what we've done is that all the roofs are cutting the walls. So what happens if the wall exceeds the roofs?
Yeah, in that case, you would create a different roof shape, so it would not overhang this wall, so the wall will be just like square. So I just quickly show you the tool that you could use for that. I'm just creating a wall here. And in that case, actually, you would use the tool which we call the wall profile. You click on the side of the wall and you use the profile and add whole frontal profile. And this allows you to literally draft the shape of the roof, because in this case there will be nothing that will be automatically creating this shape. In this case you need to design this shape. That's right, that's good.
Good one. It's a good solution. Now that's actually there's another one. There's one last thing, but I think we could answer. Can I extract data into Excel?
Yes. I did not mention that, and it's actually not quite obvious because you cannot find the listing here, because these are the creation tools. You will find this under the building parts, and my mistake. It's actually in documentation. It's in documentation quantity takeoff, and that's the Excel list. Let me just quickly create that. There are several options. I will go with the building parts. I don't even list all the items, only the roof. And yes, I'm just simply creating this. This will be roof list, and then I just save it. And then actually it's coming on the other screen, but I can show you here. You have an Excel file with one page with the roof, and all the beams and all the structure that is inside is listed with materials and also with IDs, so you can find where they are in this.
So the documentation is in one handy spreadsheet.
Yes.
Now, that's actually what we wanted to show. Like I said before, these are the basics of roof design. We showed you the automated and the manual ways of doing things. We showed you some roof elements as well, but we might devote a separate webinar for those kind of scenarios, when you have superstructures and such kind of buildings. Now, I would like to thank you for your attention. After this session, this video obviously is going to be kept on our website, so you can always get back to it if you have some training needs.
Yeah.
Thank you very much for your attention. See you next time.
Bye.